Hey there. Welcome back to another Craftersations. If you don't have your craft, as always, go get it. Have this excuse to sit down, keep your hands a little busy, and just have a chat. Maybe grab your favorite beverage as well while you're up. I'm just sipping on water right now. Finished my morning coffee. So what are you working on? What craft? What project? Is it for yourself? A gift for someone else? I finished that last project I was on, and I already passed it off, so I don't have a picture to show. Turned out really cute though. I'm working on another family commission. Actually, this commission came in a while ago, and it's been getting pushed off, so I figured it was time to finish it up. So yeah, that's what's going on over here. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about my family today. And you know, this might become a multi-part series because I love my family. And there's a lot of things I could talk about. If you don't want to hear about it, let me know. We'll change topics. Growing up, I don't think I realized how lucky I was with the family that I had, because it's just normal. You know, I'm sure it's the same way with people that are not so lucky and born into families that maybe are not the most supportive. For me, it was the opposite. I assumed everybody had a family where the parents were super involved and supportive, and you were surrounded by extended family, and birthdays and holidays were excuses to get everybody together and have a potluck and have great conversations and games. And this was the world I grew up in. And the two sides of my family, my mom's family and my dad's family, like they got along so well. When you were at one of our get-togethers, like you would have people inside on couches and outside and on the patios, and it didn't matter which side of the family they came from. They were engaging and enjoying each other's company. And then, you know, we had friends of the family that, you know, were just family. You know, some of my dad's best friends from growing up, they were uncles to me and my sister, and there was like nothing weird about that. They were family. So I grew up extremely lucky. Now, it could have gone very differently for my family. My mom and dad had me unexpectedly, to put it politely, and they were young, so young. I mean, now at the age that I'm at, I'd call them babies because they were so young, adults, but young. You know, and my dad, when he found out that I was coming, he didn't have to make the choice that he made, because there was no legally binding relationship between him and my mother at the time. And he didn't. He chose to create a family, and my mom made huge sacrifice. She could and should have gone on to college, probably to go into accounting. The woman is great with numbers, and I think she actually enjoys working with numbers. I didn't get that from her, but she could and should have gone on to college to do that, and she didn't. She and my dad chose to get married, to start a family. They both took jobs that ultimately allowed them to support that family. And they made that sacrifice, and they put in the work to create a family that was beautiful and amazing. Yeah, I think everything that I know and think about what a family is and should be, and what parents are and should be, most definitely came from my parents. They have been so involved and supportive, and they never looked for excuses. Growing up, I didn't realize, we lived in a little historical neighborhood in Southern California, where it was not uncommon to hear gunshots from the surrounding areas. It was a little 1920s house. I don't even know if it was 1,200 square feet. We ate simple dinners, and we didn't do extravagant things. We did a lot of things as a family, but it never occurred to me that, my parents were probably making really tough financial sacrifices. They both worked really hard. They worked full-time jobs. They did what they needed to advance themselves. Like my dad, he always jokes that he barely made it through high school, and it was probably because of sports that he made it through high school. But he worked his way up. My dad was working from the time that he could get out there and be trusted to work. So 13, he and his buddies they started their own landscaping business out of like a wagon, carting lawn care supplies around the neighborhood and making money that way. But he'd been working essentially his whole workable life. And my mom too. My mom was an athlete. She took jobs outside of school. So my parents both had an extremely well-ingrained work ethic. And they came from families where their families practiced a strong work ethic. So my parents weren't afraid to work. And they took, pride in doing their jobs well. So they were able to financially support us. But there wasn't necessarily a lot of room for extras. And my mom, I'm assuming, was the primary financial driver in my home in terms of keeping track of finances and actually balancing the checkbook, when that was actually still a thing that you had to do. And looking back now, having been through the time in my life where I am still and have always been the primary financial balancer in my family, and having a young family and the cost of a home and all of those bills, and having to juggle your finances, your ins and your outs, so stressful. Growing up, I never saw any of that. Whatever struggles my parents had financially, and they had to have had them, looking back now from an adult perspective, my sister and I never knew. I was able to go on an amazing trip out of country. My sister was in gymnastics for so many years and had music lessons. We were both able to pursue things that enriched our childhood. And at no point did I feel like finances were a burden in our family. My parent, I don't know how they did it. I honestly don't. Like, I have financial conversations with our kids. Like, we're very upfront in terms of what things cost and what things are worth and how we should be thinking about money in our home. And I don't remember my parents ever letting on that there were maybe financial jugglings that were going on in the background. We had an amazing childhood. And we never wanted for anything. Most importantly, love and support. Like, there was never a question. If we had school plays or school events, parent-teacher conferences, whatever, like, both of our parents were there. Family always came first. Always. Man, we're so lucky. And I find myself as a parent now, sometimes, when I feel stuck and I'm like, ugh, this is so hard. I try to think, how would my parents have handled this? What would they have said? What would they be doing right now? How would they have wanted me or my sister to feel at the end of it? And it helps. I'm very grateful that I had that example growing up. My mom and my dad and all my extended family. I'll have to get into them more next time because my grandparents on both sides were amazing too. And they definitely played a role in shaping, I'm assuming my sister as well, but in shaping me most definitely into the woman that I am today. But yeah, it's crazy to think, that there were so many places where my family probably could have gone off the tracks, but it didn't. It so didn't. It thrived because my parents were willing to put in the hard work. And I think love more than anything. Love and hard work. If I had to think of two mottos, creeds for my family, it would be love and hard work. What a legacy. That is my family's legacy. Love and hard work. I think those two things cover a lot of ground. Yeah. So, long story short, my family is amazing. And I know for a fact I wouldn't be where I am today without them and the example that they set. They are truly two amazing people. And I'm extremely grateful that I get to call them mine. Yeah. So there's a little chat for you. I hope that gave you an excuse to sit. It was a bit of a ramble on my part. If it gave you an excuse to sit and craft and just kind of let your own mind wander and relax for a little bit, then it served its purpose. So thanks for hanging out with me. Feel free to chat back in the comments. Share with me a little bit of your family history or anything that you want. And until next time, cheers and happy crafting.